Hampshire Woodshop. Alright, we're still building our saw bench. While you guys were away, I went ahead and cut the tenons for the uprights to fit inside the feet of the saw bench. I apologize I didn't film it, but it was pretty simple. You just put it where you want it, mark out the tenons where they go, use a marking gauge, scribe around right where the tenon goes, cut it with this. I used my saw, my carcass saw here, and it was pretty simple. So you didn't miss much basically. But now we're on to dovetailing. Here, I'll show you what we have so far. Here it is so far. Not glued together or anything, it's just sitting here. But the uprights are tenon into the feet, right here. And I cut dovetails on this board going into the upright. That's what we're going to do right now. But that's half of it. We're getting there. We are getting there. I can't think of anything else that I have forgotten to say, so let's just get started. Put this off to the side. All right. I doubt that you can see it from there, but I laid out the dovetails. I have 2 dovetails on each end, and it's 1.25 inches. I scribed the line 1.25 inches from the edge, because that's where this goes. It's like that. So, scribed that around, laid out my tails with just a pencil, and now we'll just use a saw to cut. Yeah, all right. The nice thing about you doing tails first, now people have their own ways of doing it, and it's not wrong. If you want to cut the pins first, that's perfectly fine. People do that. I like to cut the tails first. It just seems more natural to do it that way for me. On this first cut, pins or tails, the lines that I have are just guide. We don't have to be exactly to that line. In fact, if you stray off your line, you don't want to try and get back on a line. You need a straight line. So if it's not at that angle, if it's a little shallow or a little steep, that's hand-cut dovetails. It's kind of what we like. We try and be on that line, but if we're off a degree or two, then it doesn't matter. So we'll just cut it, get that saw going, and go right down to our base line. All right? Let's do that. I like to, on the far corner, I like to get it started, and then as I'm sawing, lightly sawing, walk it back to the front, right along my pencil line. I'm trying to keep it just square with that pencil line because I use a square to bring that pencil line square across the face there. All right? So you start on the back corner and then just work your way watching that line. Alright, getting there, almost done. I gotta get rid of this center waste here. Make room for the pin to come up. So, that's called chisel work. Will this one fit? It will. Hopefully it's sharp. Yeah, it's alright. Alright. And my mallet. Alright, I know that I don't have the camera zoomed in right here, so I'll kind of describe what I'm doing. I am not setting my chisel right up against the scribe line. What happens when you do that and you hit it with a mallet, it actually moves the chisel further beyond the scribe line, further beyond where I want it. So I'm going to hold it back from that line just a 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to chop out all the waste that way and then go back and pare right to the line. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Be gentle. You don't have to just start whacking and wailing away. You know, just work your way down. And I'm going to use a different chisel, a little bit smaller. Taking out that waste toward it there. I'm going to go about halfway. And flip it over and go from the other side. You never want to go all the way out from the top all the way through. You never want to do that. You'll blow out the back end. You don't know where your line is. Everything can go wrong if you do that. So don't do that. Yep. Okay, we're there, except now I will trim right to my baseline. I like to hold my chisel not level, not straight up and down, but headed into the center of the board, undercutting that bottom of the joint. That way, when I put my joint together, it's not hanging up on something. I'm not trying to get a flat, perfectly mateable surface, because that's not really any glue joint. That's not a glue joint right there. So I'm just trying to get it out of the way so it doesn't affect me down the road a ways when I'm fitting the joint. I hope that makes sense. These knife lines are really handy because your chisel just wants to fall into it. You don't have to try to, find your pencil line and try and stay on that. It's pretty automatic. So if you don't use a knife to lay out your dovetails, maybe you ought to. All right. Oh boy, here we go. We have tails. All right, can you see that? They look good. Actually, it looks really good. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to get its upright that goes to this and cut the pins. All right, so it's number 4. I marked it as 4, and there it is. There's my 4. So this goes in the vise. Grab a plane so I can put it there and do that. Make sure it's sitting on their level. And make sure this is flush right here. This edge matches this edge, nice and flush. Make sure, you know, it's all the way this way. The tails are flush with the outside face of your upright, or at least close. Beautiful. Knife, scribe on line. This 1.25 inches deep, and my knife doesn't reach that far, so I gotta try and just kind of finagle a way of getting it in there. Is not the best. Look at that. Not the best deal I got going, but we'll work through it. Come on. There we go. I think that did it. Okay, it's always a good idea to go in and deepen your scribe line so it's easier to be seen. There we go. All right. There it is. Make sure my depth for my marking gauge is set at 1.25 inches, or at least whatever this is. It's right on. Okay, we'll take our marked out scribe lines here. There we go. And we'll transfer them down the face, straight down. And just like that, both sides. Now we have all that to cut out. We are cutting this out right here. Okay? Yeah. Darken that line just a little bit there. When I cut this with saw, I stay away from the line, 64th, 32nd, something like that, really close. But I give myself, I make sure that it's not big enough, and then I pare. You'll see a little later. I'll be paring the wood away to get a nice tight fit. I don't try and get a tight fit right off the saw. Some people can do that, but Yeah, I've never been able to. Okay. Now we have to get all that material out. You can take a coping saw, cut that out. It's a good way of doing it. I find that for me, I kind of like chiseling it out. It's just a little bit better. I don't really like the coping saw. Maybe it's my coping saw. I don't know. We'll just chisel it. And it's not too difficult. Again, staying away from my baseline. Okay, most of it's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pare, get it to where it fits, and then I'm going to clean up the bottom. All right. So you could put your chisel near your line and tap down, but what happens there is if your grain isn't completely straight, it'll go in to where you don't want it to go, or come out, and it's not going to be a straight line. Sometimes if your grain is real straight, it works great, but this isn't really straight. I'm just going to go slice right across from the outside of my board to the end in case I blow out the back side. It won't be so easily seen. All right, let's give it a test. I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned or not, I don't remember. When I'm fitting a tenon or a dovetail into its spot, I like to use a little bit of lead from a pencil on the leading edge of the joint. Rub it on there, nice and black, and then that will tell me where I need to do some more trimming. Does that make sense? I hope so. That's a little tight, so obviously I need to take some more off. And the black tells me. pretty good. Pretty good. Now we'll do the bottom. We'll clean up the bottom, and that joint will be done. Again, only going through halfway. Flip it around. Come in from this side. In the corner, clean up whatever little piece be holding it up. All right, let's see how she goes. And the bottom here, it's not completely coming close yet. It's close, real close, but I think we could do a little bit better. Well, hello. The camera kicked off, ran out of memory space, but I ended up finishing the joint right here. There it is. This is the joint we just cut, and it slides in just like this. I spent a little bit of time paring away until we got a real good fit, and now it's a good joint. That's it for that corner. I'll do the next corner a little later, and we'll move on from there. What I'm going to do is we're going to put a stretcher right across here, dovetail, half lap dovetail into the upright. I originally planned on also putting a stretcher in the middle for some rigidity, but I'm thinking that that's not necessary. I think it's going to be plenty strong with this one having a stretcher, and then another on this one having a stretcher as well. I think that'll be plenty strong. We'll see. That's it for now. I will see you back here next time on the New Hampshire Woodshop. If you liked the video, push the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for showing up. And have a good day.